Hey people, and thanks so much for coming. It's last day. I know you're all fried. And so this is kind of a prototype for a talk. It's going to get a little brainy at times, kind of go deep into personality stuff, but bear with me. What the hell is design culture, really? Design culture consists of a lot of different things. It's a complex, kind of nebulous thing. It's about communication, processes, strategy, guidelines, but most important, it's just about us, designers. So let's talk about ourselves. What better topic there is? I wanna figure out what kind of people designers are and how our personalities might just be more important at times than our skills and our tools, our Photoshops and sketches. But first, I have kind of a confession to make. I'm a game addict, right? I used to play a lot of video games and other games back in the day, and I'm still doing that every now and then, but I'm trying to, like an addict, I'm trying not to. My favorite kind of games are the ones that let you choose your characters, or how nerds call it, select a class. When I first started doing it, I just didn't know, who am I? Am I a mage or a warrior or maybe a priest? It's kind of hard to choose. So I figured out, okay, I'm not super strong, nor all that smart, but I was kind of sneaky. So I was like, ooh, I know, I'm going to play as a rogue. And it quickly became clear to me that rogues are actually pretty weak. My character kept dying over and over. It wasn't very satisfying, I must say. And then I discovered I could kill a lot of enemies with just one blow if I hide in the shadows, sneak up on them, and strike them suddenly in the back. It was super effective and very safe, actually. And so I kept doing that. I got experience, I gained some levels, my backstabbing skills got better and better, and that's how I learned how to play to my strength. And then after a while, I ran into a different bunch of monsters they were vigilant, they could see me lurking in the shadows, and, it got pretty hopeless again. And then I found this other dude, he was a warrior, right? He was very mighty and strong, but kind of clueless. And he couldn't really beat a lot of challenges and adventures on his own, but he had a strong shield, strong armor, and like really ginormous shield, so monsters couldn't kill him quick. That's what we call tank these days. So I took him on, and I kind of put him in front of the monsters, and while the monsters were beating the shit out of this big oaf, I had enough time to kind of sneak behind their back and finish them off. And so that's how I learned how to deal with my weaknesses, by finding someone to partner with, to cover my back. And then I got a job. Naturally, I decided to approach my career the same way I approached video games, right? It felt like all I needed to do was advance my skills, get more experience, and gain levels. It's that simple, right? Is it? I thought the more design skills I have, the more tools I master, the better I'm going to be as a designer. I think in retrospective, I was wrong. As designers, we get really obsessed with all of this stuff, the hard skills and the tools. We've all been doing that at some point of our careers, right? When we're doing resumes. And look at that stuff, 63% Photoshop knowledge. What does that even mean? I could totally imagine one of these designers kind of sitting at home poking around pie chart in Adobe Illustrator, right, designing the resume, and kind of going like this, all right, 50%, no, it's super boring, and it's not enough. Okay, 75%, still kind of trivial, and I really hate this 90-degree angle, I gotta make it something special. Oh, I know, I'm gonna apply golden ratio and Fibonacci spiral in here, so it may make it look totally awesome. I'm a designer, after all. I don't think all of that stuff matters anymore. I don't think we can calculate our hard skills like in a video game. And it is no longer enough to define ourselves as designers through tools and hard skills. So let's say designers are a bit more than just a combination of our hard skills. So what is it then? There's been a lot of conversation lately about the soft skills and what they mean. There's still a lot of people going like, no, designers are craftspeople and they should all learn how to code, blah, blah, blah. And then a bunch of other people started saying, well, maybe we should all be storytellers or something. So what are those soft skills that people bring up? Well, speaking and writing, right? Leadership. There's this thing called active listening, time management, business alignment. How many of these things are actual skills? How many of those you can effectively learn, or maybe it depends on something else? I think if we look deeper into why we want to learn all of those skills, it's not about the skills themselves. I think it's about who we are as people and what kind of person we want to be. Storytelling isn't just about writing and speaking per se. It's about having an idea, a vision, and being fearless to kind of bring it in front of the people. I'm scared shitless right now, just so you know. And time management, for example, is not about fancy calendars. It's actually about patience and adaptability to constant chaos. Group collaboration is frankly about not having too much of an ego. It's about patience and empathy and humility. And business alignment, 9 times out of 10, it's about influence and winning people over. So it's not our skills or tools that matter, not Photoshop, not Sketch, not AngularJS. Our design process is a reflection of who we are. Smart and strategic, selfish and selfless, patient and passionate. Our personalities can be our greatest asset or our biggest weakness, depending on what we do, what we're trying to accomplish. We don't get to generate our design characters from scratch, like in a video game. At best, we can figure out who we already are. But how do you find your strength as a designer? How do you know if you got what it takes, or when you need to find someone to help you? So I started looking at what's called personality measurement frameworks. Okay, I'm a solid ENTJ, according to Myers-Briggs, an extreme red-blue in this thing called personalysis, and I have an EQ of 4. So what did those tests tell me? Nothing really, except I'm a senseless, ruthless sociopath who's probably going to die alone. It always felt like those tests were optimized for better face validity. They were designed for people to simply say, yep, that's me, and just put results on Facebook, rather than saying, this is who I want to become, or even better yet, this is who I should work with. And most of these personality types aren't created to work with each other, to fit together or get developed into something else. So I realized if we want to figure out who designers are, we're probably going to need a different kind of assessment, the one that would help us match designers together, help them find partners, friends, or mentors, not just put labels on our foreheads. And so we heard about this thing called Gallup Strength Finder, and we decided to try it out in Capital One Design. So we piloted this assessment with just 20 designers at first to see what's going to come out of it. This is kind of what came out of it. In this test, people take a quiz and they get assigned 5 out of 34 strength, kind of these things. To me, 34 felt like a lot. It's just a lot of variables. It's pretty hard to build a system around them, to match them together, make sense of it, make it somehow actionable for personal and team development. And I was curious, maybe there is a way to categorize them somehow, to just make them more manageable. Gallup has their own system. It's called leadership themes. But as the name suggests, it's kind of shitty corporate thing, and it's focused on kind of executives and their thing, and less so on the peer partnership and personal development. I thought we needed something more democratic and empowering to help people actually partner up with each other. And also, we wanted to make those buzzwords more meaningful by connecting designer strength to their roles and the work that we're doing. So we did some cluster analysis, and we broke those strengths into 5 buckets based on their affinity to each other. White strengths are about humanity and communication, empathizing, building relationships with people, finding consensus. This is one of the most common colors just in people. We're all people, right? We're humane. At least probably all of the designers I've seen so far have at least one of these. But yet, some of us are still much, much better at this than the others. Blue strengths are about intellect and ingenuity. They help us learn things and analyze information to get insights and figure out design solutions. As you can imagine, this is one of the super common colors in designers as well. It helps us think about what could be by casting our vision of the future. Black is all about intent and strategy. It's knowing where you want to go, what exactly it's going to take to get there, most importantly, why you want to get there. It helps us being deliberate about what we want and be able to make sacrifices for the greater good. Red is the fun color. It's the color of action, will, and passion. It's that little voice in our heads that says, "Stand up and get moving, you lazy bastard." It gives us strength and resolve, makes us creative, and helps us blaze the trail and being fearless. Finally, green is about the flow. It helps us keep going and develop processes through patient trial and error. It's about humility and selflessness and patience and tolerance to other people and their beliefs. All right, still with me? Let's do this. Choose, say, 2 colors that feel like you, that feel like they describe you the best. Got it? All right, let's see how this works. By now, you probably might have figured out I did not pick those 5 colors at random. Nerds. There is this other game I spent about 10 years of my life playing, and it's called Magic: The Gathering. And I never think this would happen, by the way, but I just spent like about an hour in the speaker's lounge helping Hydro build his Magic deck. This was so cool. I did not expect that. So Magic is a strategic card game. Cards have colors, and those colors are designed in careful balance with each other. There's a very particular order to Magic colors. It's a wheel of white, blue, black, red, and green. Players mix together 2 or 3 of these colors into color combinations that all have unique strength. Each pair of colors has a certain meaning. It describes a particular style of play and ultimately player's personality. So there are 10 pairs total. Let's just go on this wild ride and kind of imagine how those color combinations could describe us, our designer personalities, how they could relate to our work, and what kind of strengths and weaknesses might they have. Colors adjacent to each other on the color wheel are called allied. They have complementary strength that naturally add up to each other. Allied colors are very solid and stable, but their stability makes them kind of predictable. So in order to balance them, Magic players often add something opposite, something different to the mix. Likewise, no matter how confident we are as designers, our mindsets are often not enough. We get stuck, and we need fresh perspective. So here's an example. Take white and blue, right? So white is about people, blue is about ideas, ingenuity. So white-blue kind of combines people with knowledge, helps us find genius solutions to human problems. Sounds pretty much like the textbook definition of user experience design, right? In Magic, though, white and blue cards are often slow and passive, and their main weakness is the lack of resolve, the red. White and blue is the most common color combination I've seen across all of the designers, across everyone I've tested. And we're great at empathizing with people and ideating through solutions, but even the best designers could spend hours and hours just arguing over those solutions. Like, what if, figuring out all the little things rather than just fucking making it and seeing what happens. One of our designers made this sticker, and people started putting it on their laptops as a daily reminder to activate themselves and get going. Turns out that what most designers need is an activator, someone to tell them to stop overthinking shit and start making. White, blue and black are the colors of strategy and rationality. Blue-black controls the game by thoughtful planning and cold, emotionless calculation. But it often needs time and resources, the green, to execute the master plan. This is another slow combination, but you cannot rush strategy. It takes patience and process. In the world of design, blue-black could represent business alignment, working with our stakeholders, and, design strategy itself. The first thing I realized when I started moving from designing things into designing systems is this change of time scale. Before, I was kind of thinking in hours. I can make this logo in 3 hours. I can design this UI in 10 hours. And then it was weeks or sprints, maybe month. And then when you're designing something huge, like a design organization itself, you gotta start thinking in years. And this is excruciating. This is really, really hard. The bigger your system is, the longer it takes to get any kind of results. It's the opposite of this laptop sticker. You literally cannot ship anything quickly, no matter how passionate you are about it. So being passionate does not help. And the best part, you start blaming yourself, like, maybe I'm not doing it right. Probably you're doing everything just right. And all this anxiety and impatience is just in your head. So you gotta change, or you gotta find a partner who's more patient than you. Here's the story. I used to have all the red things. When I was buying my first motorcycle, my friends told me, hey, I should probably get a red one because it would be more noticeable on the road, kind of safer that way. And it's way more kick-ass, right? So I got the red bike, not this one. And, of course, I got the red helmet to match, and then the red jacket, and then I had to get the red backpack, and then the red T-shirt, and then the red boots. And so before I knew it, I was looking like the Flash, and I was feeling the same way. Come on, gotta get it moving, come on, faster. And then I got to a point where I realized I need to be more patient. I must be more patient. And so I decided to make an experiment, and I started wearing all green instead. Okay, maybe it's lame and naive, all right, judge me. But maybe it's a placebo effect. But it kind of worked. Now, every time I'm looking in the mirror, I feel calm and peaceful, and I no longer feel anxious to get results fast. I'm willing to wait. Speaking of black and red, if you put together too much passion with too much intent, you get this dark thing called command and control. It's not bad, by the way, not necessarily. Some people dislike this color combination. They call it tough, rough, ruthlessly effective. Maybe sometimes we need that. And perhaps the only way to make it work is by adding something completely opposite. Great empathy and very honest and transparent communication, the white. In the world of design, black and red could apply to design governance, guidelines, art direction, and quite often performance management. Many years ago, I was working as an art director in this Ukrainian fashion magazine. It just went through a big reorg, and we spent several weeks with editors kind of figuring out what to do, trying out different things. And so we decided, okay, it's a really good time to redesign the whole thing and just give it the new look. So I made a bunch of InDesign templates, and I gave them to my team of designers, but they weren't happy about it. And they kind of started screwing up things and sabotaging the whole thing and using their own styles. I'm like, must be something wrong with the template. Perfectly reasonable assumption, right? So I went back to the drawing board, and I redesigned this template from scratch. It was like the best template in the world. It was simple, foolproof, had all the styles fully annotated. God, I even printed a little cheat sheet, and I put it on every designer's desk so that they could learn all the styles better and, follow on that stuff. Didn't work. Still didn't work. I started getting mad. Things started to go south. And then one of our editors just realized what's going on. She gathered everyone in the room and simply explained why we're doing it. And how did we come up with this new template? It wasn't a rash decision. It wasn't my decision. It was a collaboration through weeks and weeks of iteration and actual user testing. Well, duh, right? I know it sounds crazy, but back then it just didn't occur to me that all I need is a bit more communication. It wasn't one of my strengths back then, but she was great at it, so she covered my back. Speaking of weeks and weeks of iteration, red and green combines passion with craft. These are the colors of creative exploration and rapid prototyping. We all love that. We could spend hours and hours just pushing pixels on the screen, right? But red-green's weakness is the lack of measure. Those wild creative explorations need thoughtful metrics, the blue, to know when it's actually time to stop. 3 years ago, I started working on Capital One online account opening redesign. And at some point, I got to about 70 plus iterations of the design. Back then, it sounded great. A lot of people came to me and said, 70 iterations of design, this is so great, so much work, so much attention to detail. In reality, in retrospective, I kept being a fucking perfectionist. I spent way too much time doing this thing without even realizing why I'm doing it. What brought this madness to an end was a set of clear success metrics and a lot of user research. And then we were able to validate the prototype and just move on. So don't be perfectionists, guys. 9 times out of 10, that's just your ego speaking. Find someone to be your voice of reason and tell you to stop when it's time. This idea of collaboration, people and their processes, the white and green, is probably at the core of design culture. This is what it truly means. It's about our patient teamwork, our conversations, our stories of successes and failures. It takes a very long time. It evolves over months and years. It's such a long journey. But when you're building this, when you're creating this design culture at big scale, you need destination. You need clear goals and outcomes, the black. I think it's so easy for designers to just get lost in what we do, in our craft, feel all kind of elitist and kind of almost like autist, right? Detached from the actual world. I'm like 9 to 5, I'm just making beautiful things, pushing pixels, to get into that ivory tower of our craft and forget why we're here. We are here to help the business grow through delivering amazing products and services that people would buy because they make their lives better. But it's not about us. And ironically, it's not even about the customer. It's about the business. And because our business partners are not designers, it is our job to influence them and keep telling them the real value of design. That is why everything we do should have clear goals that tie back to those business objectives. But hey, what if we do not believe in those objectives? What if they are bad and dark and not in the best interest of people and customers? Well, first of all, what the fuck are you doing at that company anyways? And second of all, it is still our duty to work with our business partners and help transform those objectives into something you believe is best. All right, back to those colors. So when I did the Strength Finder, my colors turned out to be black, blue, and red. So it's about strategy, thought, and passion. No surprise there. I spent kind of a good share of my career doing just that: creative strategies, product roadmaps, and design style guides of all sorts. And I always felt what I'm lacking is the other two colors, the white and green, empathy and patience. I keep working on those, and I'm trying to always partner with someone who's better at it than me. So we talked about the allied combinations, the ones that are so kind of similar to each other that they get stuck and they need something new. But what if you're in the opposite situation? What if you're working with someone who comes at a problem from a completely different angle and you just don't fit? In Magic, the opposing pairs are called enemy colors. They offer a lot of potential, but they're unstable and much harder to manage. They're so different and inherently conflicted that perhaps they require a mediator, a peacemaker, something in between. Take white and black. So white is human needs. Black is business intent. So where those two things meet, sounds like a good fit for service design. There's been a lot of talk already at this conference about that. So Matt Ryhorsky talked about UX in real life. And in Capital One, we deal with that quite a lot, as you can imagine. Designers are great at empathy. We're kind of the champions of human needs and people, but our stakeholders, they come from a completely different angle. They care about business, and they have business outcomes. So how do you bridge this gap between people and business? Sometimes you can solve it in white way, quote unquote, with more communication, or in black way with more influence and kind of winning them over. But what really works is translating both the human needs and the business outcomes into rational frameworks, bringing the blue, the thought, into the equation. And so that's where service design shines. And we're using service blueprints and journey mapping, and those visual artifacts help us bring customers and associates on the same page. And it's always helpful to bring someone who's a deep thinker, someone who can help rationalize and map those complex systems. When you're in a big company or you're working for a really big client, things slow down quite a bit. You get bogged down in those business processes, the black and green. And because of that, large design organizations or just big corporations, they started investing into this thing called design ops or design management. And they're doing that to optimize their processes and kind of implement new routines top down. People are people. They aren't just going to do what you tell them to do. It doesn't happen that way. People need to be passionate about it. So building effective processes requires empowering people to take action, to own it, and to drive change about what they personally care about, kind of bottom up instead. When we decided to launch our first Medium publication, it was really hard and scary. We didn't even know how to start. Imagine, it's a huge financial corporation with a lot of red tape, a ton of risk, and a lot of risk kind of approvers and stakeholders who do not want to put stuff out, no matter what it is. So we tried to figure this stuff in a blue way by kind of meticulously designing the information architecture, figuring out exactly the topics we want to write about, etc., but it didn't work. We kept arguing about it, And every time we wanted to bring our vision to anyone, they said, well, how is this going to work? How do you know if it's going to work? How do you know if you're going to find all of those writers? And we finally realized we should just fucking do it. And all the nuts and bolts going to come along. So we started publishing the stories we already had. You know, we found people who were passionate about something and wanted to write about it. And that's how we did it, by letting people own it, by not overthinking it, not being in people's way. And so we were able to learn and move forward. This make-to-learn thing is a great mindset for processes and even better for making products. When you combine some brilliant ideas, the blue and real passion, the red, you can build wonders, right? Put great designer and brilliant developer in a room, they're almost guaranteed to build something awesome. This is what hackathons are all about. Hell, this is what this conference is all about. Problem is, if you can make anything, how do you decide what to make? Creative technology desperately needs business intent and strategy to find the right course and provide the decent return on investment. When I first started working with product managers, I hated their guts. Those guys would always say no to the best of my ideas. But then a month later, I kind of realized, okay, if you put a great team of designers and a great team of developers together in a room, yes, they will build something amazing. In 5 years. And then it might be just too late. So the key to building something great is restraint. It's about keeping your ego in check and limiting yourself to something small in the beginning. But small doesn't mean bad, doesn't have to suck. So there was this thing called MVP, Minimal Viable Product. We promptly renamed it to Minimal Desirable Product to kind of remind ourselves that it has to be decent anyways. But if you have this kind of personality, the blue and red, you're making creative solutions that you're passionate about, find someone to say no to you every now and then, and your products and services would be a success. Speaking of saying no, designers and developers also have quite a passionate relationship. Blue and green is where ideas meet implementation. This is our day-to-day design delivery, sprints and scrums, and meetings with our tech partners, the assets, the file formats, the poorly named layers, the tech specs. God, let's pause for a second, just go into those sweet, sweet memories. More than anything, it needs good communication between all of us. Liam Thurston from TWG has this great talk called Designers and Developers, a Couples Therapy. And it's all about speaking the same language with your developer buddies, being radically candid with each other and understanding each other's perspective. When I first started working with agile teams, I didn't have Sketch, I didn't have Zeppelin, I didn't have any of those cool tools that we have these days for design delivery. I was just making shit in Illustrator and saving PNGs one by one. Actually, twice that because, one for regular, one for 2x, the retina. It took enormous amount of time. And then I had to send it over to developers. They would look at it, and then come back to me. Horrible. So I asked them, hey, guys, maybe you want to put Illustrator on your laptops. They're like, no, we don't want to learn Illustrator. I'm like, what if you don't have to learn it? What if we're just going to pull up designs on your laptops, right, and start having those design sprints and conversations over there and figure out what's easy to implement, what's not, and what kind of sacrifices we might want to make. Yeah, it sounds trivial to you, but it was like, I don't know how many years ago. So, and it worked. So if you're going to ask me that age-old question, no, I do not believe designers should learn how to code. I think we should just learn how to talk to each other. There are many ways you can have a good conversation. Maybe you can be nice and polite to each other, but then some meaning can be lost in translation or between the lines. Or you can be brutally honest and super straightforward, but it might alienate someone. That's kind of my life story. Radical candor is this new thing that's about balancing passion with kindness. It means putting both your heart and your soul into communication. It means being honest and kind at the same time. It means you need to open up, overcome your fears, and accept your vulnerability to become a better partner and connect with each other. And that's hard. Sometimes it takes a lot of time and patience, the green, to get used to. If you're being honest and open with people, you can quickly get discouraged. It would not be easy. It can feel hopeless and desperate. It will always feel scary as shit. But it takes time. Professor Snape said something about radically candid people. That's what people are going to think about you. That's what you're going to see in their eyes. But you can't stop. They're vulnerable and afraid, just like you. They're passionate, and they have opinions, and they care, just like you. They're people. Be patient with them. And the more you're doing it, the more they will trust you. And one day, they might just open up too. All right, so which colors are yours? Hard to decide. All of them? Yeah, it was like that. When I first did the assessment, I was like, what about all those other strengths that I have? We're so full of ourselves, are we? We think we can be all of it. Kind, smart, strategic, passionate, and patient at the same time. It's so hard to find what you're truly good at. Something you can always share with the others and be responsible for it. And it's even harder to admit that you're not good at something, to accept your vulnerability and ask for help. Of course, no one in our pilot group ended up with just one color. 2 or 3 are most common. 4 is rare. 5 is super rare. If you feel like you have more than 3 colors, I think it might mean an opportunity for you. Maybe you're going to be amazing with all of it, maybe not. But it's good to start sharing your strength with colleagues and to offer your help. Perhaps your colors could save the day for someone. By the way, notice the cluster of white and blue and black over there. More than half of the people in this group seem to be pretty awesome about human communications and all sorts of strategy. Well, guess what? All of these people are content strategists and conversation designers in Capital One Design. So it turns out our personalities might just affect what we do. A couple more examples. So Steph is red, white, and black. She's super passionate, mega communicative executive. And she happens to be our head of conversation design. What she's missing is blue and green, which means she could use patient thinker every now and then to help her put things in order. And then Sydney's strengths are black and green. She's the avatar of process and facilitation. And she happens to be our events manager. Sydney doesn't have white and red, which means she could benefit from that honesty and extra radical candor. Unsurprisingly, Steph and Sydney make a great team because they use each other's strength and complement each other's weaknesses at the same time. None of this means that Steph, Sydney, or I need to change unless we want to. It simply creates a shared vocabulary for all of us to understand the people around us, find people who share our strength or partners who are great at something we're not. You can end up with any number of those colors. The trick is just accepting the ones you consider to be your true strength and finding partners for the others. Every one of us has different motivations. Some of us want to grow. Some of us just want to get shit done. Some of us want to find buddies. Designers want to find partners and mentors. Team leads want to find the right people for their projects. Or you know what? Better yet, find the right projects for people that you already have. And getting to know each other's strength sounds like a pretty good start. Look around you. Every day we're surrounded by beautiful people, smart and strategic, selfish and selfless, patient and passionate. Every one of us has different colors. Every one of us has different strength that could help someone in the time of need, could inspire someone, and just make us into better friends, colleagues, and better people, ultimately. So talk to each other, share your strength, accept your vulnerabilities, and that's how we build our design cultures together. Thank you.